Have you ever found yourself exhausted from trying to please everyone around you, but deep down you feel like you're losing yourself in the process? Have you ever stopped to think that maybe you're putting aside what truly matters just to please others? What if I told you there's a way to break this cycle and start prioritizing yourself without feeling guilty? Does it sound impossible? I promise it's not. In today's video, we're going to talk about how to stop the people-pleasing pattern and reconnect with what truly matters to you. These are 5 simple but powerful steps that will help you take control of your life and, most importantly, rediscover who you really are. Are you ready for this transformation? How many times have you found yourself saying yes to things you didn't want to do, just to please someone? I know, it seems harmless at first, but the truth is, over time, that need to please others starts to take over your life. You find yourself being the person who's always available, who never turns down a request, even when you're at your limit. But what you don't realize is that by doing this, you're losing a part of yourself, and you don't notice it until you're completely exhausted and emotionally drained. People-pleasing, or the good girl syndrome, is more than just a desire to help others. It's a form of seeking acceptance. But what's really at stake here is your own happiness. And the worst part, you start losing yourself in the process of trying to please everyone else and forget about what you truly need and want. Now, think about this. When you say no, how do you feel? You get that uneasy feeling in your stomach, right? And if you say no to a friend, a family member, or even at work, the fear of disappointing others is so strong. The guilt kicks in immediately, as if you're a bad person for not doing what others expect of you. This is completely normal, but it's also one of the biggest traps we put on ourselves. The fear of disappointing others comes from a deep place, the desire to be accepted, not lose friends, not be seen as selfish. But the truth is, many times we're making huge emotional sacrifices just to avoid disappointing people. And in the long run, that drains our energy, our mental health, and our peace of mind. Deep down, the guilt isn't yours. It's just a reflection of a pattern you've learned to follow. And it's time to change that. Now, let's talk about a topic that I know can be tough: setting boundaries. What do you mean? Have you ever tried saying no and felt terrible about it? I get it. Often we think that saying no makes us cruel or insensitive. But the truth is, if you don't start setting boundaries, you'll continue to be overwhelmed, tired, and feel like you don't have any time for yourself. The key here is learning how to communicate your boundaries clearly, respectfully, but firmly. For example, you can say, "I would love to help, but I can't today." And you know what will happen? Life will go on. And you'll start to realize that it's not the end of the world to say no. Your boundaries are essential for your well-being, and by respecting them, you're taking care of yourself. Now the question is, what's stopping you from putting this into practice? Fear of disappointing others? Guilt? Let's work through that together. Now, let's go a bit deeper. Do you ever look in the mirror and not recognize yourself? Like, the person you were is gone because you've spent so much time trying to be what others expected? That happens because by pleasing others too much, you start drifting away from what makes you unique. Your true essence gets suffocated by other people's expectations. And guess what? This needs to change. Now it's time to rediscover what makes your heart beat faster, what truly makes you happy. What have you always wanted to do but never had the courage to? What have you pushed aside because you've been focused on others? Let's go back to that. Let's make space for your own happiness. By reconnecting with your essence, you'll start realizing that by prioritizing yourself, the world keeps turning. And guess what? You'll be so much happier and more authentic. We've arrived at the most powerful part, living with confidence and authenticity. Now that you know it's possible to say no, you can put yourself first, and you've reconnected with what truly matters. It's time for the most transformative part, living authentically. This means making choices based on what's best for you, trusting yourself, and no longer needing validation from others to feel good about yourself. You'll start acting in line with your own values and desires, without fear of judgment. And here's the amazing part. When you start living authentically, people around you will respect you even more. Because in the end, authenticity creates true relationships, and you no longer have to sacrifice yourself to be accepted. Now, you'll be living for yourself, and that, my friend, is true freedom. So, what will you do now? Will you keep sacrificing yourself to please everyone? Or will you finally put a stop to it and start living for you? Remember, the power to change is in your hands. The decision to prioritize yourself is yours, and when you make that decision, you'll be amazed at the peace and happiness that come with it. Don't be afraid to put yourself first, because you deserve it. It doesn't matter what others think or expect.